Hey everyone, this is the second part of improvement task for v1.6 release cycle meeting. We'll go through the communication docs, release notes, manager team, subtasks. Okay, so just a note, this is already prioritized by the comms lead. So of course, it's based on the priority, the most priority being on the top. But yeah, we can discuss the details and see. The first one, create a checklist that enumerates all the manual edits necessary in the release notes so it can follow on each release day. I know Guillermo is himself started working on this. Any ideas about the priority?
I'd say it is still important soon. Or it could also be rated as important long-term, depending on how much important soon is important enough.
Yeah.
I would just pick one of them and move on, to be honest. I think we're not getting the most benefit out of 10 people here if we try to map this to soon or long term, to be honest.
So I'll just put priority in position. Then the next one, info blocks. There are people already working on this. I see Mikael is on the call. Yeah, from the comms team perspective.
So I don't actually know how to speak to the priority. I think Guillermo had tried to stack rank the comms tasks in order of his interpretation, but yeah, I do have a PR up already for it.
Should we skip that one on the next one? I mean, if you're already working on it, it's a matter of a few more reviews and it goes in anyway. I'm not sure how valuable the prioritization is for anyone.
Yeah, I agree. We can just skip them because it already has the. Let's talk about this one probably. Announcement templates to help specify all the comms needed and have format. And
yeah, I think.
So,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to give context. So, just having a template so that we can just use for emails or Slack messages. And use that for each release so it doesn't change. But yeah, was it really?
Yeah, I think, I'll be working on this today. I think this is probably an important soon priority as well, because just all the announcements that we'll be making will be dependent on this. So yeah, it's a pretty high priority.
If no objections, I'll move to the next one. Thanks, Willy. So we have an issue already for this. Consider adding expandable after-generated release notes for beta and RC releases. Oh, there's no issue for this, sorry.
I think it would be good. I don't know if it's additional effort with the new process or not. With the way that we open PRs to create tags. I don't know if you would generate release notes anyway and how much additional work it is to have release notes for beta and RCs. Because previously we just had them anyway. But I assume it's you can just run the tool and then it shouldn't be a lot of effort, right? And I think then it would be pretty useful for folks to actually see a first version of release notes before the actual release, because we're doing beta release and all that stuff a month earlier so that people can adopt. But if they have no idea what is in the release, that's unnecessarily hard. So
Yeah.
I would like to see this for next release, but I'm not working on it.
Any other ideas? I'll just probably put backlog, if that's okay. Yes, no. Okay, probably yes. Next one, release note tool should not ignore squashed PRs. This was from Stefan, from you. I think you opened the issue today, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can give some context. So basically, since I joined the project 3 years ago, we're telling everyone that they always have to squash their commits before we merge, because we cannot use the squash method in Tide. At least that's the story that I got. I never tried it, but I'm pretty sure it is the case. So what would be nice is if, I don't know what we have to do for it, but if we could find a way that also the PRs that have been squashed by Tide show up in the release notes, that will save us a lot of time asking people for squash, explaining them how to squash, and all that sort of stuff. We can just add a squash label, merge the thing, and move on. But yeah, I don't know how possible it is.
Yeah, Cecile?
Yeah, I don't mean to like distract the discussion too much, but have we considered just not using our own release notes tool anymore? Like before we go too deep into making improvements to it and iterating on it, just, because the Kubernetes release notes tool was something that I know was brought up at some point as an alternative. And then GitHub also now has feature for auto-generating release notes from commits and PRs. So just wondering, when's the last time we had that discussion, if it's worth having in context of these issues or not?
Yeah, probably it's worth checking also upstream Kubernetes. They have, I think, yeah, they have a tool called KRL, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, we could also definitely check. Joe?
Killian, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought we looked into KRL, but it was a good amount of effort to get it to not be K8 focused and sub-project focused, if I'm not mistaken.
I think the main issue, so we did look into it a little bit. I wasn't on the comms team, but we took a look at it in the context of trying to do the release tagging as well. And the main issues, it is pretty generic and you can use it for cluster API today. The main issues are, I think mainly it works off Go templates. So you would just have to write the correct Go templates to make it work. We would also lose, it doesn't, if I remember right, but basically I think all that's missing here is for somebody to champion this and actually try to see what we could do with it today. For example, we might miss GitHub integration, so we might lose our area. I'm not sure if they have a Git client. So what this is missing is somebody to champion it, I think, more than anything. So maybe somebody on the comms team could take an AR now to open an issue around that and add it to this list.
No one else?
Just to add more context with respect to why we were using the release generation tool, the last release, we were building off of Oscar's contribution, and it also sort of gave us the flexibility of making changes to the release notes MD, which was generated. So I think that was one of the reasons why we didn't really venture into if we could use the upstream release tools notes, release notes tool. But yeah, I agree with what Killian and Joe said, that yeah, we need to figure out what the differences are.
Yeah, it looks like we need some more investigation on this. And I see Michael typing, I can take action item to create an issue to investigate that direction. I think that makes sense. Do we put priority backlog? Or or important long term, maybe? Stefan?
I just remember that I had this sort of discussion with Oscar in the past. So I'm not sure, but I think we have an issue already. I'm not sure if what the issue title was. I just linked one issue here in the Zoom chat. Just take a look at that one before you create an issue. It's definitely like the headline is a different one, but either on this issue or another one, we had this discussion around, hey, should we change the release note tool? What would even be the difference? And I don't know, probably just nobody had time, so it didn't really. Oh, sorry, no, I found the issue. The next one I link. That's actually the issue. The issue title is switching to Kubernetes release notes tool. So I think you can continue with that one.
So, are you fine with priority backlog, Stefan, or important long term?
I mean, we ignored it for 3 years. I guess people can continue squashing until we change something. It's fine. Whatever you want to put on it.
All right.
So I was actually about to use our release note tool for control runtime release notes, and then I remembered that squash thing, so I just used the built-in thing from GitHub, to be honest. But it was just control runtime.
I'll just put important long term probably, if there are no objections. Sorry, Michael?
Yeah, I was going to vote for priority long term. It sounds, I mean, that's a big value proposition for Brow, right? Just the commit squashing.
Yeah, exactly. Any other thoughts? If not, let's move on. We have 10 minutes left. Update documentation to. So it's anyways documentation. I think it's fine to have them. I will skip through this if there are no objections. Next, automate parts of release notes that are constant through minor release by reading from some file to populate the data. Can someone give some context on this?
So I think I might have added this. What this really is talking about is making our release notes tool work off a Go template that is then updated through the release. So, for example, the things that were kind of that are manually done today that there were mistakes made on during the 1.5 release were Kubernetes versions, which are mostly the same through the release, but normally change towards the end of the release, the Kubernetes versions we support. So as we get towards the 1.6 release, Kubernetes 129 may or may not be supported in the last release of the series, which is what happened in the previous release in 1.5. Another thing is like highlights. So initially we published release highlights in release the beta 0, and then we missed them off the following ones because we were just copying and pasting back and forth. Another thing is fix-ups in release notes titles and stuff. So the idea here is to basically commit, let's say, Kubernetes versions to the repo. When we update our Kubernetes versions, we update the template, and then that template is used as a source of truth through the release cycle, instead of relying on people trying to remember on release day what we did the last time, and then best ever copying and pasting, and then sometimes copying and pasting isn't right. So I would say this is, from my perspective, like priority backlog, and has to be done in concert with things like figuring out whether or not to use the Kubernetes release tool. This is the central question, is whether or not to pour much more effort into our own release tool to make all of these improvements, or whether to switch to the Kubernetes release tool, which has some of these features built in that we could use out of the box.
Yeah. Priority backlog if there are no objections from others. Joe? And then Cecile.
It sounds, I was just going to say, it sounds like after talking with everybody, we probably want to do at least an investigation into what it would take to use the release tool for Kubernetes. So even if we don't figure it all out right now, at least like, hey, it's going to take this, we're going to have to update the Go template, yada, 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 to be able to figure out what it's going to take to get to that next change. Instead of pumping a ton of effort into our current release tool, but I don't know.
Yeah, +1 to that. I also was going to ask for the one above. I don't know if we covered that or not, or I might have missed it. Sorry if we did, but the building the release notes tool from main before generating the notes. I think this might have changed with my recent change to automate the release branch and like using the PR process to merge release notes. So whoever looks at that, if you could reach out, we can talk.
Yeah, sorry, I skipped through it thinking it's a documentation and put a priority, but then yeah, I removed it. We have to discuss this. That's good.
Cecile, there might be one more detail to it. I think it's like we want to build the release notes tool from main, but that we want to use it on a release branch, and that's why we can't use go run anymore. And your change was that we have to run it on the. Yeah, but I mean, whoever does it.
Well,
talking to you is
yeah. I also changed the task to be like use the makefile target now. Don't use go run anymore. So.
Yeah, I see. So we need something else.
Yeah.
If you want to follow, like, use the release note tool from main, but then run it on a.
So yeah, talk to Cecile, I guess, as an action item. Or if there's an issue, I'm happy to comment on the issue. I just didn't see one.
Yeah, we don't have anyone assigned to this yet, so we don't have an issue. But did I understand correctly? So whoever wants to work on this, they can reach out to you, Cecile. Yeah.
Yeah, and this also falls under the category of like, we should only do this if we're not switching to the K8s release notes tool.
But I mean, yeah, so I agree in general that we should be really careful about how much more time we invest. But I mean, we're basically talking about generating the next release notes like next week correctly, right? Or, I mean, it's probably only a small difference if we run like the wrong version of a release note tool on another release branch or something like that. But ideally, we do it right next week.
Yeah, the PR
and we probably won't change the release note tool until then. So that might be one that we just want to like fix up, and then it's fine for now.
Yeah. Can we agree on the priority, please?
I think just put a zoom on it, and that's okay.
Sure. Thanks. Then next one. Common dependencies to exclude multiple bounds in the same set of release notes.
Can I say something? Because I think that's coming from my side.
Yeah, sure. Right.
So basically my idea at some point was we have Dependabot, which generates the PRs that we merge all the time, and then you have like 5 PRs bumping the same dependency. And if you look at the upstream Kubernetes release, or I think CAPI is just the same, they just generate the changes that you have in the dependencies, and it doesn't really matter in which PRs they were changed or not. So I think overall, like the thing that we should do here in the end is we should just generate the dependency diff and don't care too much about all those individual Dependabot PRs and have like 5 entries for the same dependency and stuff. So that's more like something towards either just use whatever we can use from upstream KK or build the same. And yeah, there's a difference for GitHub Actions and stuff, but I think the main thing is all those dependencies. Also because if you look into the PRs that we have to pump dependencies versus the dependencies that we actually change, you will only find a very small subset in PR titles. There are a lot more indirect dependencies that change from release to release that we currently don't capture at all. So I think we should generate them in any case. for the Go dependencies.
For priority, is it backlog or important soon? Probably.
I think maybe backlog is okay because we really should rather look into using the upstream tool, and then once that decision is made, that topic might be already included. So that's maybe better ordering than trying to solve this before.
Sure. Yeah. Next one, define details of communicating key dates to the community. Do we want to document this?
I would put this on priority soon and just move past it, because it's a very small fix up that needs to be done to just make whatever the current practice is concrete and make sure everybody agrees. This is just about updating the documentation, like, but I think it's a little bit ambiguous today. Yeah, we're close to time, Cecilia was saying in the chat.
Yeah, we have some more, but we're almost done with at least. Yeah, it's 1 minute left. Sorry, was it? I'll just finish this. Backlog, Killian?
Whatever,
Yeah,
whichever,
right.
it's fine. I would
Sure.
just say, yeah, that's something that should just be done.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're on time. Can we extend it a bit to 15 minutes or so if you have time? Otherwise, we just stop the call.
I'm personally going to drop, but
Not sure if you're waiting. I don't know if I can speak, but then I'll still jump the gun. The miscellaneous section had something interesting topics, and now that we have the right folks, it'd be nice if we ever get to have a discussion on it, but some of the time is fine.
I could also say another 5 or 10 minutes if it's just about providing context about stuff that we don't know about. I mean, you can have a separate priority discussion or something.
Yeah, I think we are mostly prioritized them. In miscellaneous, I'll just quickly recap. We have mostly the doc improvements that people are already working, and 1 or 2 issues that I can follow up on Slack or like
Okay.
on the umbrella issue itself, and we can prioritize it. Yeah,
but they would. Sorry to jump the gun. There were also some interesting topics about how to define, say, onboarding tasks and offboarding if there are a few people, less number of people showing up. One which was very interesting, which I wanted to get opinion from everyone, was start using GitHub projects boards to track release improvements. Not sure how viable it could be. It could be an overhead on the release lead itself to maintain, or other people to maintain. That was something which would be really nice to get an opinion on.
Yeah, I actually put test GitHub board that I set up here. If you have time, let's take a look. So basically, just try to have, test version of it, and it's pretty handy, I would say, and it really helps also with automation. Like, we can have custom fields and assignees, let's say status labels, and these linked pull requests are provided by the board itself, so it will be filled automatically whenever you enter or like you insert the issue to this. But this team or this priority, these are the fields that I added myself because it's very handy. For example, you can see filter them issues by team, let's say on this view, or by responsible, who's working on what, by priority, like urgent, high, medium. We can rename them, of course, but by status. So this is how I was imagining it and wanted to show and know your opinions, but we are a bit short on time, so probably I will leave it to everyone to take a look and collect ideas later.
Yeah, but I think that's also something that you can just decide within the release team. I mean, you have a weekly meeting, so
Yeah, we can do that.
Just play around with that stuff. Sounds good.
Yeah, I'll not take more time of you. It's 3 minutes past already, and I'll follow up on some important subtasks, probably on umbrella issue, and get your opinion. But yeah, thanks for coming and for all the ideas and help. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.